Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and in this video we're going to discuss a pretty foundational question, which is, what does it mean to be free? And the way that I like to begin this discussion on the idea of freedom is, to ask the question that any 5-year-old would ask. If you were approached by someone of that age and they asked you, well, what does it mean to be free? And you had to try and explain this sort of complex concept to a child of that age, make it understandable to a person of that age with that limited experience, how would you do so? And I think the attempt to try and construct an answer to the question of what does it mean to be free, so that a 5-year-old could understand it is a powerful thing if it can be done. I'm not making any claims that this is necessarily going to be a good account. It's just an account that I've sort of constructed over the years, and I think it's something that I want to share with the rest of the YouTube community. So the question begins with, how is it that we classify freedom? How is freedom typically classified as in terms of? Well, simply, freedom is usually typically classified in terms of the ability to choose, right? So, for example, given a path that forks along the way, and you are right here in the path, you can either choose to go direction A, or you can choose to go to direction B. The ability to choose to go this way or this way, since obviously we can't go both ways, the ability to go this way or this way is the foundation of this idea of freedom, right? I have freedom at this point to go either to position A or I can go to position B, right? So that we think that, well, an individual is free insofar as he or she can choose to go here or there. If I were to tell this to a 5-year-old, I would say, well, it's pretty simple. You can go over here or you can go over here, but you can't do both. Like, it's basic, right? So that we usually say roughly that freedom equals, we usually say that freedom equals choice, right? That's the argument. And it's pretty basic, right? I'm sure if any of you are watching this and I asked the question, what does freedom mean? Most of you probably thought, if not all of you probably thought, that freedom equals choice, right? It's the ability to choose between two options, and that's pretty basic. But then the discussion gets a little bit more complicated, right? Because if you wanted to give that answer to a 5-year-old, that might be satisfactory, right? But for an adult, that answer becomes the answer fails, right? It doesn't make sense to say that freedom is understood in terms of an ability to choose between two things. And the question, well, why isn't that what freedom is, the ability to choose? Well, before I answer that question, I would ask, you out there in the world to think about how economists categorize us in the world, we people that populate the U.S. or the Western Hemisphere or the globe, right? How do economists classify us? What are we defined as, according to economists? Well, if you think about it, economists view us as consumers, right? We are identified in terms of our ability to consume, right? So that consumption is a key description. If this is the human being, and here is the thing, the object, then we are defined in terms of our relation to consume, right? If this is who we are, and here's the object, economists look at this relationship between us and the product. This becomes the product, and it's like the new Google phone that I so badly want to get, right? Or it could be cosmetics, or it could be cars, or it could be shirts or clothes or whatever. The individual in relationship to the product, the act that governs this relationship is consumption, right? So that they identify us, our behavior, who we are. Economists identify us, who we are, in terms of what we are capable of consuming. So that's the first point. Now, what does that have to do with an idea of freedom, right? The description of freedom in any sense. Well, now think about it like this. If we take what I just said about consumption and you think about the idea of choice, then you realize that if we're going to classify products like this, we would say there's two products that exist, and obviously the plane of existence, where it exists, is known as the market. So the plane wherein both of these products are presented to the population, us, is the market. So this is the consumer. The market is where the product is presented. Think of the market as like a table. If someone goes in the kitchen and cooks a wonderful meal and brings the meal out and places the meal on the meal is the product. The table is the market. It's the condition in which the products are given. And I, sitting hungrily at the table, become the consumer. Now this looks sort of like the last thing that I drew with respect to choice, right? I have the ability to choose to buy product A, or I have the ability to choose to buy product B. But I immediately realized that there's a distinction between the last discussion on choice and this, because this is not mutually exclusive, right? I can buy both products simultaneously, right? In the previous example, I could have gone to path A or I could have gone to path B. But I can't do path A and path B simultaneously. In the market, you can buy all the products that are available in the market simultaneously, right? So I can buy both the iPod and the iPhone. There's no contradiction in that. This is not a problem. And then people say that, well, that's a representation of my freedom, right? Because I have the ability to choose to buy this product or not, choose to buy that product or not. Well, the question is that what it really means to be free, right? To be free, does it really mean that your freedom is expressed in terms of your ability to choose? And my response is that that's what consumers and economists and business folk would have you believe, right? That freedom is expressed in consumption. And the question is why? Well, they're the ones that are producing the things that we consume. So of course they want you to choose their option and not someone else's. So the example that I always give in class during lectures is the idea of ice cream. I have a very big love of ice cream, but I also equally love popcorn. So when I go to the movies, I love to eat popcorn. I mean, who doesn't like eating popcorn at the movie theater? But I also like ice cream. So I go to my neighborhood grocery store, and I go to the ice cream aisle, and I look for chocolate-flavored popcorn ice cream. And despite years of diligent effort, I have yet to see someone manufacture chocolate-flavored popcorn ice cream. It doesn't exist in the market. Now, if this was a business class and I was a business teacher, which I'm not, I would talk about niche marketing and economics and fulfilling the gap, and is there enough demand in the market to sustain a viable product like chocolate-flavored popcorn ice cream? But I'm not a business teacher, so I won't get into that discussion. And there probably is only me, so they would probably never manufacture it because there's no demand, right? But that's neither here nor there, because this is not an economics class. This is more of a philosophical question on freedom.